Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as What If Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
And hello, how are you people? How are you? I hope you are feeling very well. As you can see, here I leave you with a new chapter of this Mother series. Without further ado, I'll leave you with the video. Fun with the great apes. Bam! Shikamaru flew out towards the wall. In one shot of Tamari, he had just had an up-close and personal relationship with the stone section of the stadium. Many shuddered at the sound of the impact, which was mostly male, and even some women as well, since they knew that they might be the ones who were hit by the Winjutsu that Suna Kunoichi hit him with to cause that event. Of course, the only one who really enjoyed the sight of Shikamaru getting beaten up pretty hard was his own mother. Mind you, not in a cruel way, like I hope you die a slow and painful death, but rather this is part of your punishment for being lazy. And in a way to get back at the guy for calling her a pain in the ass. Maybe it was, but it was for Shikamaru's sake, and a woman in that particular clan always knows more than the lazy men she had. Winner by knockout, Sabaku no Tamari. Genma said as Shikamaru fell from his position on the wall and moaned in pain. Even then, Genma thought that he heard Shikamaru muttering problematic under his breath, and wondered if the guy took the attack. Just to get out of this right away. I wouldn't miss him from the kid either. The next match is Uzumaki Naruto vs Sabaku no Gaara, Genma said, when Gaara appeared once more to fight. And Naruto did the same with a smile on his Saiyan face. Only to have their next match interrupted by Kakashi attack and Yukia's Asuke entering in their own dramatic way. Something that was pathetic compared to Naruto's ability to fly around the stadium, before landing gracefully when it was his turn to fight Meiji. We're late. I'm sorry, but Sasuke's fans were blocking our way, and we had to take the longest route, Kakashi said, which was partially correct. But no one needed to know that his excuse was half true, and not a lie-in. All rules like all the others. Not only were you late, but Uchiha Sasuke was disqualified, and lost to Sabaku no Gaara in the process, said Genma, who saw that Hounen was shocked, and Sasuke was furious. What? That's not possible. I'm an Uchiha. This is my turn to show everyone what I can do. I'm fighting Sabaku no Gaara. He's not a loser's guy. Sasuke said, pointing to Naruto. Someone explain what I did to Neji, and that I'll make it worse if he doesn't come out of from here in the next 10 seconds. Also keep in mind that the time I am giving you is generous. Naruto said with Gaara smiling at him and nodding to show that he respected the blonde's need to use the threat of violence against his teammate. You are a monster of nature, said Sasuke said as Kakashi put a hand on Lucia's shoulder and held him firmly. Calm down, Sasuke. After all, such threats to a teammate will get him into trouble with the locale, and he will deal with Naruto accordingly. Kakashi said sweetly, but there was nothing sweet about that, and everyone knew it. Also, we'll see who deals with whom, Kakashi. Now get out of my sand before I smear your insides all over, Naruto said coldly as Kakashi's eyes narrowed towards him. You'll regret it, Naruto, Kakashi said before leaving with Sasuke. Doubtful? Let's get started, Naruto said as he saw Gaara smile at him even more. Uzumaki Naruto vs Sabaku no Gaara. Ready. Fight, Genma said as she got the hell out of her way and watched the battle of the titans unfold. Instantly, Gaara threw his sand at Naruto, but the blonde one did. He simply rejected it and instructed the redhead to try again. With the frowning sign, Gaara moved more sand towards Naruto, who moved with incredible speed from where he was standing to the right of the Suna boy about 20 feet away. And it was clear that the blonde Saiyan was playing with his partner Hinchiriki. You're too slow, Gaara, Naruto said smiling at the angry red-haired man, and kept dodging the different sand jets that Gaara was sending at him. Shut up and die, Gaara said as he wove his sand and pointed it at Naruto, like angry snakes trying to attack their prey. It's not happening, Naruto said as he moved from place to place, and he was annoying Gaara with every passing second. That's enough. It's time to end this. Sand shield, Gaara said as he was going to carry out the plan ahead of schedule and was preparing to unleash Shukaku on the stadium. I don't know what you've planned there, Gaara, but it won't work against me. This will end everything. Last Ryak Javelin. Naruto said, as he took the memory of Bardock using this attack, and used a slimmer but still powerful version of the original form that the Saiyan had once used. The destroyed attack, which simply grazed the sand shield, still had more than enough power behind it to cause Suna Genin's ultimate shield to be erased and injured Gaara's left shoulder, while the wall behind the boy Suna had a huge hole right now. The blonde didn't want to end up dead, as he was like the only slightly psychotic Hinchiriki, and deserved to live a life without the madness that had clearly been consuming him. When Naruto first asked Jiraiya about Gaara, the Sannin was surprised that Suna even took her Hinchiriki to Chunin's exams, as many would consider it excessive, and decided to do some research on the reasons for the supposed allied village, and he discovered a very ugly truth about Suna not being so friendly. Listen to Naruto. I've heard that Gaara is unstable, which I imagine implies that her seal is too weak to properly contain her demon. And he's mentally unstable. From what I understand from her insomnia signs, it is clear that Gaara's demon is released if she ever falls asleep, and manifests her body to cause a huge amount of damage. I know you're harsh, but a biju outside the house might be too much even for you, Naruto, and unless you have some hidden up your sleeve, don't face it when that happens. Those had been Jiraiya's words of advice to him. As if Naruto was some kind of idiot with no means to throw his own weight at such a creature. The Sannin had begged him to sign the summoning contract of the totes, but Naruto did not do so despite the man's pleas, and simply told Jiraiya that the amphibious summons was not for him. No disrespect to the totes, he knew from the stories told that they were great warriors. But the Saiyan felt that his choice of summons was somewhere else. And among the most primitive side of the animal kingdom, my blood. You made me bleed. Gaara screamed, as he had never been hurt like that before, and the first time he saw an injury like that. It wasn't helping his mindset in the slightest. At that moment, an explosion was heard from the Kajebit, and the invasion was now officially underway. He takes Gaara out of the village long enough to regain her strength. We need you to take Shukaku out to attack the blade, Baki said, as he stood in front of Gaara. And the boy's two older brothers beside him. That smell. You have the smell of blood on you, Naruto said, squinting at Baki, with the Hounen squinting at him. And if I do? Baki said as Naruto growled at him. The blood belongs to a jounin of this village, one of the few really, who holds a special place in my heart, and is one of the few I have respected. Do you know why she's a jounin? Naruto said, his anger increasing with his power. What do you mean, kid? Genma said, as the sons of the cassette player ran away. The blood of the jounin I'm referring to belongs to an Ayat Gecko, one of the few blade shinobi trained in swordsmanship, and a very skilled master, and one of the even rarer few, who actually saw me through for me. Not Kyubi. He's not a monster. He's not a demon. Just me. And you turn it off, Naruto said, as the ground around him cracked around him. And Baki was clear that the young Saiyan was not in the mood to play nice, it was just business. Nothing personal. He was eavesdropping on a meeting with a spy from Seon and Orochimaru about the details put in place for the mission. In any case, I respected his skills and abilities. It really was a credit to the Konoha forces, Baki said, though he didn't calm the Saiyan in front of him. Naruto, I'll take care of Suna Hounen. You need to find Gaara, and stop her from doing what she's supposed to do. Ayat was also a good friend of mine. Let me handle this, Genma said, as he too. He didn't have any animosity towards Naruto, and he had told Yate about the boy, and only said nice things every time. When I wasn't coughing, or coughing in between coughs for shortness of breath. Fine. When I'm done with Gaara, he's next, Naruto said before leaving after the Suna brothers, while Genma just laughed. What are you laughing at about Leaf Shinobi? Baki said, seeing that the man was smiling at her with an almost sympathetic look. You're a dead man no matter what you do. That boy has so few people who trust him in this town. Just a handful of them are close to him, and for you to kill one of those people. Few people, that guy is going to kick your ass, Genma said, smiling at Baki. We'll see, Baki said as he noticed that Uchiha Sasuke was also going to chase after Gaara in hopes of defeating him. Or maybe Naruto. Baki never trusted the Uchiha to stay loyal to a fellow Leaf Shinobi. Then Khan trusted that Gaara wouldn't kill someone just for accidentally sneezing in his general direction. With Naruto, the blonde Saiyan soon caught up with the Suna brothers, as the three were trying to get far enough away so that Gaara could regain his strength and unleash Shukaku on Konoha. The youngest of the three, who was also the most mentally unstable, turned to see his cargo companion in the air looking at him. And the other two brothers soon looked up to see Naruto for themselves. "I'll stop him. You protect Gaara," Tamari said, as she pulled out her fan to fight the blonde, but Kankuro stopped his sister and took out his puppets. "No. I'll stay. You can move with Gaara and fight." "I can't," Kankuro said with his puppets at the ready and saw Naruto frown. "You make it look like I'm going to stop Gaara from transforming," Naruto said as he slowly descended to the ground. "You are not," Tamari said as she expressed her surprise at the group. "No. To be honest, I have a transformation of my own, and I want to face the monster that Gaara keeps locked up while using mine," Naruto said with the brothers turning pale with fear as they assumed the worst. "Can you change to the Kyuubi?" Tamari said with fear, knowing that while Shukaku was powerful in his own right, the creature was nothing compared to the Kyuubi. "No. This transformation is only mine. The fox has no connection to my change," Naruto said with a smile as the brothers wondered what this change was. And if it was related to their rapid change from the moment they saw him before the forest of death, "It's not going to happen," said Sasuke, as he charged from his hidden position in the trees, Chidori in his right hand, and sharing in them active, with the intention of killing someone under him. Given his angle, speed, and the direction Sasuke was heading, Kankuro was his intended target. The puppeteer wielded his tools of the trade that Suna was known for and blocked the attack with ease before taking down Lucia. Sasuke was going to attack once more through them, but was surprised by Naruto's tail, hitting him in the face with enough force to push the boy against a tree. What arrogance! The Uchiha believes he can win simply because of his bloodline. Everyone is naturally weaker than him simply because they are not descendants of Uchiha, Naruto said calmly, as he frowned at the currently downed Uchiha and then turned to look. The looks of amazement on the faces of the Suna brothers. "So, what are you planning to do?" "Just waiting for Gaara to transform," Kankuro said while still skeptical of the guy in front of him. "I want Gaara to bring everything he has to the table. I like to fight the opponents when they try their best and fight me with everything they have. So let's go, Gaara. Take out the demon that's begging to come out. Unless, of course, the big bad Shukaku is really just a fat chicken shit thought," Naruto said, knowing that the demon inside Gaara would listen to him. "Or you didn't just call me that. Let me out. Let me out so I can kill him," Shukaku shouted inside Gaara's mind, and the poor boy winced at the demon's voice. "Mother wants to go out," Gaara said with Naruto smiling. "Fine. You two might want to run. This is going to get ugly," Naruto said, as he formed an energy ball in his hand and tensed them up. "Hey, wait. I thought you said you were going to transform when Gaara succeeded in unleashing Shukaku," Tamari said, wondering if the Saiyan he had gone back on his word. "I am. This little number in my hands is key to my transformation," Naruto said as he just smiled at them. "What? How?" Kankuro said as he saw the light of the familiar energy ball. "This is the energy ball that mimics the type of energy output. What the moon does when it's in the sky at night by combining with the atmosphere. Once you throw it into the sky, the ball will explode into a much bigger one. All I have to do is look at him," he said Naruto like it was the simplest thing in the world. "And then you transform." "In what exactly?" he said. Kankuro said, while Naruto just smiled at him. "You should never ask. It spoils the surprise," Naruto said simply as his smile never left him. "Go away, Andos," Gaara said, as she felt her wound heal and strength return to the point where summoning Shukaku wouldn't be a problem. "But Gaara," Tamari said, but the look in his eyes told her he wasn't in the mood to debate this, and that he wouldn't debate it no matter what. "Do as I say," Gaara said as she felt Shukaku slowly taking control, and the brothers reluctantly nodded before leaving. "What do you think you're doing?" loser. Those are getting away from us, said Sasuke, who had just returned to the land of conscious thought, and saw that the blonde guy was looking back at him with those cold blue eyes. Shut up, Uchiha. If you want to fight so badly, then chase the two brothers and leave this one to me. If not, go back to the village and leave me alone with my cargo companion, Naruto said. Seeing the psychotic smile on Gaara's face now, and what the non-human boy was transforming into. How dare you talk to me like you're in charge? I'm an Uchiha. We follow orders from people like you. A commoner with a power he doesn't deserve or shouldn't have in the first place, Sasuke said venomously, while Naruto refused to look at him. Either you chase the brothers or you leave. If you don't, I'll kill you, said Naruto, since he was losing patience with Sasuke now, and ready to kick Lucia's ass in the next 5 seconds. You don't have the guts. You're nothing. You're all talk, Sasuke said, walking up to Naruto and confidently got into the blonde guy's face. Really? I talk everything, huh? We'll see about that, Naruto said before punching Sasuke in the stomach so hard that the Uchiha fell to his knees and vomited up what he ate 3 days ago. That was a merciful blow, Uchiha. The next one breaks your ribs and crushes your heart the moment it's in my hand. Now get out of my face, Naruto said before kicking Sasuke through a small army of trees and returned his attention to Gaara. If you're going to use that thing, now is the time and not a moment too soon, Kyuubi said in his head. And Naruto nodded before throwing the power ball in the air while watching how it did what was intended. Do showtime, Naruto thought without stopping smiling as he looked at the giant ball of energy, which now looked like the moon in a misty haze. And soon he felt the change coming to his body. Somewhere else, not far away. Morino and Vicky were not having a good day. That was why he looked even grumpier than usual, and even the usual gave him more than a wide space between those around him. Whether it was out of fear or out of respect was irrelevant. The point was that no one dared to sneeze in his general direction. The last person who did it while honestly had been accidentally learned that the hard way, and was locked up in a psychiatric ward in a padded cell for the rest of his natural life. As for why Vicky wasn't having a very good day, there was an invasion going on that had involved not one, but 2 villages attacking. And one was a former ally. It's not what you call a good thing when you're at a disadvantage in a 2-on-1 fight and your village is the singular number. That and a giant 3-headed snake was attacking the village wall and intended to attack deeper into Konoha. Not to mention that there was a really nice house that I was interested in buying with some of the money I had saved. And it had just been demolished by some debris from the wall. Damn it. Why me? Ibiki thought, when she saw the giant 3-headed snake demolish almost everything in sight, and felt powerless to stop it. The Orochimaru summons seemed determined to get closer to their general direction, when a ground-shaking roar erupted nearby, and Vicky along with everyone else looked at the source of the sound. It was then that Hounen, in charge of it, felt his day going from worse to worse, and went straight to hell. When he saw the infamous one-tailed Viju manifest in all its glory, and a giant ape-like creature fighting with Kono, making his chosen place to do it. The 3-headed snake invokes not knowing what to do in terms of this development, as he did not expect any of the creatures to be involved, and did not like how the two were fighting close to its own intended course. He liked it even less when the giant ape threw Shukaku at him, and the 3 soon fought in a triple death threat. And Vicky could only watch with fascination, while the giant ape, wearing a Konoha headband, which showed bright when the sun hit it, fought with both enemies at the same time, ignoring the snake bites, and Shukaku Winjutsu when the raccoon was away, trying to rip the guts out of apes. The giant ape soon had the snake's 3 heads in a headlock, ironically, and Shukaku by the neck to avoid that any Winjutsu would come out of his mouth, while Biju was trying to let go. The snake's summons retaliated by wrapping itself around the giant ape's waist with its lower body, squeezing the primal creature with all the strength its reptilian body could muster. Ibiki? What is that? Is it a Biju? Said a Jounin, seeing what the scarred man was seeing. I don't know. It's not a Biju. Look at the headband. He's from Konoha, which means the ape is on our side, and not Orochimaru's. Order our forces not to engage him," said Ibiki, seeing that Hounen nodded, and left to carry out the order. "Do you know any shinobi or clan that can do that?" said a Chunin, while Ibiki shook her head. "No. There is no shinobi like that in Konoha. Although I won't deny that I wish I had had one in the last war," Ibiki said, while the giant ape bit one of the 3 snake heads and ripped it off the main body. The other snake heads were not happy with this and decided to reduce their losses, leaving for the summoning realm. While leaving Shukaku alone with the giant ape, the Viju soon went. He was thrown into the air and surprisingly landed in the center of the arena, which barely had enough space for the raccoon. But fortunately he did, and the shaking of the stadium actually woke up the people of the Genjutsu that Kabuto. He had started and stopped the fight for a long time. Enough for people to orient themselves when they wake up. The impact even stalled the fight between Sandaime and Orochimaru, and the latter was surprised that something like this happened to Shukaku. What could that have done to a Biju? Certainly not Hiraya after summoning Gamabunta. They thought Sandaime and Orochimaru at the same time. While Mei was wondering how her secret and future muffin from a shinobi leaf had done that to Shukaku. They both got their answer when a roar above them eclipsed practically the entire stadium, while Naruto in his giant ape form descended on the downed Viju and literally stuck his foot in the raccoon's stomach. The movement sent sand everywhere. Gaara himself had been forcibly awakened during the entire process and could no longer maintain control over his chosen element. The child had been sent flying towards the wall of a stadium. The sand on top of her was the only thing that cushioned his impact and saved him from serious harm, given his already exhausted condition when he woke up Shukaku. As for Naruto, he looked at Suna Hinchiriki knocked down, angry at the red-haired boy for being so weak when it came to his demon, and letting the raccoon fight his battles for him. It was a shame to let such a mentally unstable demon run amok in his head without even bothering to fix the seal, and possibly better control Viju's power without the inconveniences. So this is the power of Sabaku no Gaara. Ha! I thought you said it was going to be your biggest victory, more like a defeat. Maybe I should put you out of your misery, Naruto said, seeing Gaara crawling on his stomach to find a way to escape from him, and moved to catch up to his brother with a load. No, Tamari said, as she moved to block Naruto and his fan in the reading, to defend Gaara from him. So you came back to defend your brother. Not many family members would do that after all the things I'm sure your brother has done so early in his life. Being unstable and all that. Tell me, Sabaku no Tamari. How many of your brother's victims have been at his mercy? How many begged me to prove it and were refused? Why should I consider sparing him the crushing blow he dealt others? If the positions were the other way around, I doubt he would be so generous in protecting you from harm, and we both know that. Naruto said, squinting his red eyes towards Tamari, and saw that she turned to see a surprised Gaara look up to see his sister defending him. It's true. Most likely, Gaara would let me die if I was at your mercy, and he was watching with the possibility of saving me. I know he's killed people, both foreigners and domestic in our village. Many shouted for mercy, but Gaara did not. I won't show them anything, and there are times when I know he would have killed me if it wasn't for Kankuro, if we sneezed in his direction. But despite everything he is, I can't leave him alone to die like this. And that's because I love Gaara. I love my brother, and I will defend him to the end, Tamari said, as he readied his fan to use a jutsu with enough force to cut off the big outstretched ape hand and ready to grab it. Such strength and resolution. In fact, you are a strong woman. Stronger than most at your age. Take your brothers and leave, Naruto said to the surprise of Tamari, Gaara and Kankuro, who were currently fighting nearby with their puppets. Are you going to let us go? Just like that, Tamari said as she saw Naruto squint at her, and it was hard for Suna Kunoichi to determine if she was now fruited, frowning or smiling at the two questions. Would you prefer a painful alternative? It can be arranged, Naruto said, as he was not going to allow his gesture of mercy to be examined and questioned by this woman, no matter how impressed he was with her. No. I'm sorry. We'll leave, Tamari said, as she picked up Gaara and started running away with Kankuro right behind her to protect her rear. Fine. Now to deal with some unfinished business with the location, Naruto said, as he turned to look at the purple-colored prison. The 3-level shinobi were in cage and saw the Ambu outside arming themselves to fight him. Get back. Back off, demon, said Captain Ambu of the group, as he threw wave after wave of shuriken and kuna into his body, although it didn't do much good. Even now you despise me. Fools. I don't have time to deal with so much stupidity, Naruto said, as he backhanded them away and lowered them from the rooftop. Before turning his attention back to the prison his intended target was locked in. What's the matter? Said the shinobi sound with 4 arms. Who the hell cares? He can't hurt us. This juice. He can take anything he throws at us. Even her big arms can't do shit, the girl in the red-haired group said. I can't. I'll take that bet, Naruto said, letting out a giggle that no one in front of him liked, with the exception of Mei, who fainted a bit and found her voice to be sexy in a weird way. I like deep voices more or less in this state. Before anyone could say or do anything, Naruto raised his hairy right hand. It was with an open palm, just above the prison ceiling, while most of the hand was on the current position of Orochimaru, and it made a lot of the people in the prison very nervous. He also practically blocked the sun around the people in the jutsu that Orochimaru had his bodyguards trained to perform, and lowered his hand on top of him. The prison had been shattered. Of the second bodyguards, including his brother strapped to the same body, and Hirobo had turned to blood, while Orochimaru barely managed to escape in time. Naruto? Stop this now, the Sandaime said, when he saw the hand being removed from the Texas ceiling, and saw the sticky consequences. Why should I do it? I just saved your senile old ass, and most likely a good chunk of Konoha too, after taking down that 3-headed snake. While fighting a psychotic Biju? After everything I've just done, you expect me to just carry on like some sort of concordant dog, and obey your every command. I've listened to you enough. Putting up with your lies, deceit, thinking that you can control me for what I have, and just follow your orders like a well-trained attack dog. Be honest and just admit that you hated me, man. Admit that you hated me because of the loss of your wife when the Kyuubi attacked Konoha. Admit it. Admit it. Naruto said angrily to the Sandaime Hokage, who frowned at him, and it was clear that the Saiyan in the form of a great ape had touched a nerve with the old Hokage. It's okay. I admit it. I hate you. I look at you and I see my wife dead. Tsunade couldn't reach your mother before the pregnancy, and time was of the essence. My wife had decided to intervene, and I filled in for Tsunade until she arrived for a checkup after the pregnancy was over to avoid any complications. Then, that night, the Kyuubi breaks free. My wife is dead, and you are all that's left of that when the nightmare ends. I see you, and I see my wife dead. So yes, Naruto, I hate you, and I'm not ashamed to admit it anymore, said the Sandaime Hokage, while Orochimaru looked at the two different beings, looking at each other, and decided that now would be the time to make a strategic retreat from this battle. Why bother getting his hands dirty when someone else was going to do it for him? However, before he could signal his two remaining subordinates to follow him, Ao knocked down one, and the Mizukage knocked out the other. Teiuya? The first female Kage turned her attention to Orochimaru, as she knew a future threat to Mist when she saw it. And she knew that this man was her enemy no matter what. Moreover, Sannin's death by her hands could put her in good hands with her future husband. And the two could build a relationship over the man's decomposing corpse. Mei had to fight the romantic and slightly disturbing fantasies playing out in her head about how that would happen, so she could kill the snake bastard. However, Orochimaru was already on the move, and instructed her subordinate, Ao, to join her in the chase before Sannin escaped. You senile hypocrite. You told me to tolerate those fools, and that it was better to ignore their misguided hatred of me for having Kyuubi. And yet here, you are hating me for that very reason. You are not worthy to wear the mantle of Hokage. Your will to fire is practically out, Naruto said with the Sandaime Hokage looking at him, and to both of their surprise. The Monkey King broke free from the latter's hand before turning into his monkey form. I agree. You've disappointed me for the last time, Irison. At one time, in fact, you were a great man, worthy to be Hokage and be my summoner in battle. But now that time is over, and you are not the man I respected many years ago, under the eyes of the two previous Hokages. Before your own reign as Fire Shadow, Enma said, as she jumped away from the Sandaime, and the old man had a look of betrayal written all over his face. What? Irison said, surprised by this sudden movement. Irison has been coming for a long time. First, you let Orochimaru slip away from you when your body is still young enough to do the job, losing several Zanbu in the process. And then you caused this guy pain out of spite. You both know that the boy was not capable of murdering your wife and did not deserve the pain you allowed to be inflicted on him. Emma said as the Hokage only frowned at the Monkey King, and you are going to let me face his judgment. Irison said as he pointed at the giant ape in front of him. It's not less than you deserve, Irison. You are hereby removed from the monkey summoning contract, and your name will forever be marked as a summoner disgrace. However, I think it will be a nice addition to have the guy you despised in being our summoner, and I will talk to him soon in the near future about such an offer. Emma said before disappearing from sight back to the summoning realm to tell her relatives. I can't believe this. Irison said before Naruto suddenly grabbed him and forced him to look the great ape in the eyes. Believe it, man. You betrayed my family. You betrayed the principles on which the people were founded. You betrayed yourself. You betrayed me, Naruto said as he saw the old man staring at him defiantly. And I would do it all over again just to get back at the Kyuubi, Irison said, while Naruto just laughed at him. You really are a fool. Kyuubi didn't kill your wife. Uchiha Madara did it, Naruto said, his voice echoed throughout the stadium for everyone to hear. You're wrong, Naruto. Madara is dead. He has been 4 years since his fight with Shadai Myokai, Irison said as Naruto growled at him. Kirby says otherwise. He showed me his memories of the year before that night. Because Madara somehow found out about the place where my mother was giving birth, he killed Lambu and your wife. Before holding me hostage long enough to catch my father. Of distance before moving to free Kyuubi. Madara used his Sharingan eyes to put her under his control and attack Konoha to weaken the village, but to destroy it. Naruto said as his words echoed throughout the stadium as customers, daimyos, civilians and shinobi listened to him. Then she's a liar. You can't trust what that demon tells you, Naruto, Irison said. She winced as she was squeezed harder, and Naruto's growl increased. I trust her a lot more than I trust you. At least Kyuubi tried to help me when he had the chance. You would rather stab me in the back for the senseless desire to avenge your late wife and the being you hated. Even if the fox wasn't responsible. Not that you care, do you? No. I can see deep inside of you, man. Even now, you hated the Kyuubi, blaming her for your wife's death regardless in truth. And me too to a lesser extent for holding the fox, Naruto said as Irison looked at him. The only reason I tolerated your existence was the simple fact that Konoha needed a weapon to defend itself from the other villages and their Hinchiriki. If that wasn't the case, I would have killed you that night, and the fox that Yandai sealed me inside your body. Irison said while thinking that with the last few minutes he had left to live, he could poison the minds of the younger generation. To hate Naruto. You mean my father. Don't be so surprised, man. Kirby's memory of the whole year before he broke free, while sealed inside my mom, was very insightful. When it came to knowing that my old man was the same Yonda and my Hokage, Jiraiya, I personally confirmed it when I asked him, and we both know that he doesn't have to lie to me. He is my godfather after all, Naruto said, letting out a laugh that angered the old man even more. Damn boy. Damn you and all the demonic spawn, Lord. I hope you will never have true happiness as long as you live. Irison said angrily before being crushed even more by Naruto's grip. And I hope you burn in hell with the rest of the traitors of my family after they face my judgment. You die? Naruto said. As he crushed the Sandai Myokai in his hand, the old man's blood slowly seeped through his fingertips. And he just let the body fall on the ground for everyone to see before letting it escape. A roar that frightened the enemy invaders. The village? Naruto needs to be stopped, Kakashi said, when he was about to use her Sharingan on Naruto, and one of the hidden secrets he learned. No, Kakashi, Jiraiya said, as he appeared next to the Jounin and placed a firm hand on the man's shoulder. What? Jiraiya-sama, we need to stop Naruto from doing more damage and hold him for the trial. Kakashi said as Jiraiya frowned. For what? To kill Sarutobi-sensei. The Sandaime has done treacherous things, which he admitted to having done, by betraying the Yondaime out of spite for the loss of his wife. And made Minato's son suffer for that. Kakashi grows up. Jiraiya said, seeing that Hounen frowned slightly, and saw a beaten-up Uchiha arriving, while looking at the giant ape form that Naruto was still in. Sasuke, what happened to you? Kakashi said, seeing where the boy was looking. That loser stopped me from trying to kill the Suna brothers before Gaara could transform into that thing. Sasuke said before spitting out some blood that had accumulated in his mouth. Did he do this to you? Kakashi said as Sasuke nodded. Yes. Pass me through quite a few trees, Sasuke said, as the Hounen frowned at Naruto's giant ape-like form. Let him go, Sasuke. You left without orders after them. Naruto got his from Genma and did as he was told. Without a doubt, he took you down because you were about to be killed against 3 high-level threats, Jiraiya said. Sasuke earned him the scowl, and he knew the Uchiha didn't want that fact to become public. I still want him arrested for assaulting me, Sasuke demanded, although it was clear that the Sannin was not going to listen, and I will have you arrested for going alone during a battle. Many would call it an act of treason, Jiraiya said, knowing the laws of the village. And knowing that the truth behind the Kyuubi's attack was an Uchiha. The support that the Uchiha had on the sheet would soon disappear. Some time later, things in Konoha had finally calmed down. The San shinobi who were Orochimaru's forces had been killed or captured, with a large number of Suna's forces sharing the same situation. About a week later, Sabaku no Kankuro came to talk to Jiraiya, who was acting as acting Hokage for the Fire Daimyo, and negotiated his release from the blade, and explained why Suna joined Orochimaru. How the Wind Daimyo had been drying them up financially, and was turning them into a shadow of what they were before. That Orochimaru came to them, whispering honey in the Kazekage's ear. And how the attack would show everyone that Suna was still one of the 5 great shinobi villages, while Wind Daimyo would realize the error of her ways. Hirai already understood the boy's position, as he had told Sandaime over and over to tell the Wind Daimyo to hire Sandaime, a shinobi, only because it would strain relations with allies in the future. However, the Sandaime had ignored him, possibly in the belief that the stronger the blade became, his slowly weakening allies would simply accept him and support them to be the first line of defense. In case of war, basically, the weak protect the strong from damage, and the strong become even stronger after defeating a weakened enemy. What the Sandaime hadn't realized was that the weak ally could possibly side with the enemy out of spite, like Suna did here, and prefer to sink into a blaze of glory in case of losing, and gain much more in case of winning. So, after much deliberation, the man agreed to let the Suna shinobi they captured go. The 2 villages would be allied again, on much nicer terms, and things would work out from there. In an unrelated, but still good news, Orochimaru and Kabuto had been killed by the Mizukage along with his bodyguard, Ao. While the woman had burned the 2 bodies beyond almost all recognition, the Mizukage didn't want to take any chances, and made sure they were extra crispy. Fortunately, Uniuga was able to study the Mizukage's corpses with Jiraiya, informing the clan member what to look for to help identify the dead Sannin as Orochimaru, and found him in the snake summoning tattoo in his arm. The design, while being damaged, was definitely the one that Jiraiya's teammate had always used, since Orochimaru always showed it in front of the Tozanin when they were younger, and to piss the man off in front of Tsunade, knowing that her teammate would beat the super pervert through a wall or 2. The result of Orochimaru's death had also freed his victims and subordinates from the cursed seal he gave them. The name of such individuals were Teuya, Sasuke, and even Anko, with the woman who gave the redhead a big kiss with her tongue stuck together. While Mei would have preferred a kiss from Naruto for his actions, Anko made sure he didn't dislike her, and the Mizukage. She wondered deep inside herself if he was secretly bisexual. Not that it mattered, as Mei saw that Naruto was a bit intrigued by the move Anko made. And the red-haired woman could only blush a little in embarrassment before sending a death stare at Ao to make him keep his mouth closed about this, until the day of his death. As for Naruto himself, he had faced a bit of questioning from the fire daimyo with the councils, clan chiefs and Jiraiya in the room. Although the last of them was there to provide moral support. Everyone was intrigued by his ability to transform into a giant ape, which some claimed was through Kyugi, and demanded that this power be sealed unless he promised them eternal loyalty. To put them on his body, which would prevent the kid from turning on them, and basically branding Naruto a slave in everything but name. Others thought of it as a new bloodline that had emerged, requiring Naruto to be used as an Aztec stallion. To spawn an army of children, and thus basically using them to make the blade invincible. Others wanted to know about power in a more civilized way, as they were asking about how power came about. This change, and Naruto had told them everything, since there was no point in hiding it. As a being known as a Saiyan warrior from another dimension, who was close to death. He fell into himself when the Yondaime summoned the Shinigami, and landed on the Kyubi, before being sealed in his entrails. As the two of them had made alterations to him, so that he had Saiyan blood in him, and basically fused that Saiyan spirit with him. After Orochimaru hit him with the seal of the 5 elements. That the tail he had was the mark of being a Saiyan, that he could grow back if ever removed, and that the transformation of the giant ape they saw required the tail along with the moon, or an artificial moon made of energy that he had created. In case such a transformation was needed during the day, it should be restricted. He must be given a dead man's seal to ensure his loyalty to the blade. The boy is too powerful for his own good, Omura said, seeing that many agreed with him, but the fire daimyo did not, and it was noticeable on the man's face. The young Namika has proven his loyalty to the leaf, despite everything he has thrown at him. And given the way certain things were hidden from the boy, I'm quite surprised he hasn't done something sooner with the power he has at his disposal. Disposition, the fire daimyo said as he saw the boy looking at the various individuals in the room, debating about him. After Tozanin had explained things about Naruto to the feudal lord of the Land of Fire. Much of the Ya protests, they claimed that it was a village secret, but Jiraiya just ignored them as he knew perfectly well. That it was the worst kept secret, and that the Sandaime Okage was to blame. The feudal lord had listened to Jiraiya explain how the child was the son of the Yondaime, how the Yondaime Okage god. His life to save the village by sealing the Kyubi in his own son, after the fox came out apparently because of one Uchiha Madara. And was controlled by the man's sharing an eyes. Although as Madara found out about the location of the sealing, it remained a mystery, since very few knew where Kushina was going to give light in secret to keep the Kyubi at bay. The whole implication of what the Sannin said had settled in the room like a heavy that someone, or perhaps more than a person, had betrayed the Yondaime Okage with Malara. Jiraiya had told the fire daimyo that he knew the people who knew, but he didn't betray Minato. But the loyalty of the others had to be questioned, and for a good reason, as Jiraiya's student had plans to change the government of Konoha to evolve with the times. He died before such plans could be initiated. What better way to stop him than to see that he was dead at hand? Of his enemies, when even Yondaime Okage himself least expected it. The child is not a person. It's property. Property of Konoha. One thing. All Viju are our property, as they were once in possession of the blade, during the days of the Yondaime Okage. Since Suna is so intent on becoming our allies again, I say we extract the Biju from a tail of the Kasakage's youngest son. And place a shinobi leaf with the ability to prevent the demon from going crazy, Danzo said. As he looked at Naruto, and felt the young Saiyan, he really disliked him. No. I understand why Suna did what she did. I have already instructed Luin Daimyo to send his missions to Suna, and no longer to us. As for the young Naruto here, the child is no threat to anyone unless provoked, and will be left to his fate. The fire daimyo with the child said, smiling at the sight of many people in the room angry about the news. Also, I have to take Naruto with me to find Tsunade and bring her back to the village to be the next Okage, Hiraya said. And many became even more furious. What? That woman is a drunk. A gambler. Tsunade will ruin the leaf the moment I entered it, and I will not tolerate that person being the Okage, said a civil council, who did not want the Senju to return to the village as he had helped block their desire to set up the medical program, where one of the shinobi on a team had a doctor to keep deaths down. Why should I pay extra taxes for them? Sure, they protected the village in wartime, but they got paid anyway, and it's not like they're not replaceable. The weak were killed, and the strong survived to cash their paychecks from the money civilians like him poured into the village. She is a Senju. The last one I could add. It's technically his birthright. Also, I think with your help, the hospital staff could get a good kick in the butt, since it seems they are slacking on their duties, and need to be reminded of the Hippocratic oath they took that. It states that they won't do anything wrong, Jiraiya said with an intense look at the man who teased him and clearly felt money in his pocket. That was then spent on the shinobi that would one day save his life. If you mean him, doctors and nurses are exempt from such a thing, since the child is a demon. Demons do not deserve to be put in the same category as us, superior and much smarter humans. The civilian councilman said as Naruto just smiled at him. So how come I have the power to turn the village into a crater and you don't? Naruto said as he saw the man sputtering and boiling with rage. Filthy abomination. I demand that you arrest this creature for threatening the village, the civilian councilman said with Naruto smiling even more. What threat? I just asked a harmless question. Did I make a threat, Jiraiya? Naruto said with the Sannin smiling at him. No. I didn't hear a threat. Just a simple and harmless question, Jiraiya said while loving how the civilian councilman failed to punish Naruto. We're getting sidetracked. In terms of a fifth permanent appointment, I nominate Danzo for the position and put him in office immediately. Omura said, seeing that many were nodding, with the War Hawk's smile, knowing in his own mind that he was much more suited to be Okage than Tsunade. Are you serious? The man is old. Look at him. He's old. In fact, he is about the age of the Sandaime. He walks with a cane. Naruto said when he saw Danzo. The sign in his direction. I have experience, boy. I was Sandaime's rival for the position, Danzo said as the Shinobi Council already nodded its head. Yes. When they were both young, and didn't need a possible hip replacement, Naruto said with the old War Hawk clutching his cane. With more force. Not to mention that Danzo's ethics have always been questioned, even from the days when the second Okage was in charge. It was one of the reasons why Saruto Vaisensei was chosen years ago, Jiraiya said seeing Danzo looking at him. With his one eye, that makes sense to me. Age has a considerable factor in this position to rule the village. Can you guarantee that Senjutsu no one will return to Konoha to be the fifth Okage? The fire daimyo said, upon seeing Jiraiya think about it for a moment before looking at Naruto. With Naruto helping me find her. Absolutely. Jiraiya said as the councils, Danzo and Aussie frowned at this information. Then you can go get her, Fire Daimyo said, knowing that the village could function only for a short time. Of course, Daimyo-sama. I would also like to recruit another person for this mission. His name is Iuga Inada. She also needs medical treatment for a past injury, and Tsunade is the best medinin, Jiraiya said while, and so squinted at him. Iuga would be a good candidate for such a mission, given that its eyes can see things that most can't. The fire daimyo said while tapping his chin with his finger. She is also a member of the main family. If Kumo finds out about Iuga without a seal, they will send a platoon of his shinobi after my daughter. Yashi said while looking at Jiraiya for mentioning his daughter. That's why Naruto should be with me when we were there. My reputation alone in the shinobi world will make Kumo think twice before going after Inada. But when the world finds out how Naruto was able to defeat so many high-level enemies, they won't even consider going after Inada. And after. For Tsunade to come back, I really need to be more specific. Jiraiya said seeing Yashi wanting to rip out his heart. I agree. Besides, the girl needs medical attention as you mentioned, and she will allow this Yuga to return to the fold sooner. The fire daimyo said before ending the meeting. That went well, Jiraiya said as he walked his scion for a daughter. Yes. Although the part about adding Inada to our group was an interesting twist, Naruto said, seeing Jiraiya smile. Considering how her father wants to put the poor girl in the branch family, I thought this would prevent that from happening. And for Tsunade to give her a good review to cure anything that the doctors at the hospital have not seen. They are slipping, and I became lazy after all, Jiraiya said. As he knew that the doctors along with the nurses could have easily fixed things under Tsunade's command when he was in the village. And now, they just sucked. You can thank the Sandaime for that. After Kyugi's attack, the doctors and nurses felt that they were immune to harsh treatment. If they ignored their duties due to being considered of high value, Naruto said with Jiraiya shaking his head. Well, that's going to change once we bring Tsunade here, Jiraiya said with Naruto. Nodding, okay. Will he put up a fight? Naruto said, knowing that it was always a possibility. Yes. She has no love for the village after losing all her loved ones. You were her last anchor because she is in Uzumaki on her grandmother's side. Although even after knowing that you're alive, I don't think I'll convince her to come. Coming back will be easy, and if he's in a bad mood, there will be a fight, Jiraiya said with Naruto smiling now. Fine. I need a fight with a strong opponent, Naruto said as Jiraiya stopped in his tracks and saw that the blonde was still walking. Are you serious about fighting Tsunade? What am I thinking? Of course he's serious. It must be that Saiyan blood of his that is hungry for battle again. It's not surprising. All he's done since the invasion ended was train with Gay, work out, or keep an eye on that girl Tayuya got high at Namikase Estates before anyone could locate her. Even without the cursed seal on the girl's neck, she is still a dirty mouth, a brave redhead, and is not afraid to kick people between the legs. I still think I have a bruise on my left testicle where he hit me, Jiraiya thought. After being on guard while the girl was out, and the instant she woke up, well, her first instinct kicked in. To defeat him quickly before running away. Only to invest Naruto directly with Kim right behind him before the redhead crawled back for fear of knowing. And Yajin Rubio, since he knew what he could do. Before Naruto could even talk to Tayuya, she was begging for mercy, cursing all the time, although more to herself. And one thing led to another with her choice of words. Despite the swearing, the girl somehow teamed up with Kim to be the Saiyan's second maid. Of course, when Naruto told him that he would be staying at his house, despite his new position, Tayuya had the look of a gaping fish. And Jiraiya was already laughing out loud. Before Tayuya lost his temper, he kicked the Sannin right in the nuts, repeatedly mined, and swearing in the most profound ways imaginable. Still, putting aside the position of being Naruto's new maid, Tayuya was happy to have her only friend from Son by her side in all this. Of course, Naruto reminded them that their stay in Konoha must remain a secret from most of the village, until Tsunade can return and take over as Godame Okage. Fortunately, the blonde Saiyan had enough food and supplies in the house for the two girls to last quite a long time. Not to mention that Madoge also knew about the situation and promised to check on the two girls discreetly from time to time, with some supplies that were needed. Anko also agreed to help with the most feminine point things they may need, which made the two girls blush. As they looked at the special Hounen for mentioning it, and they saw that Kurenai elbowed her, while the Sensei Hounen of Genin's Team 8 assured both of them that they would be discreet in keeping such items away. To be seen. You're ready to go, Imada-chan, Naruto said as Imada nodded, fighting the blush that was on her face. And being strong enough to not look weak. When I was near him, already, said Inada, when she saw Naruto gently lifting her up by the waist, ignoring Kulina's silent gaze. And besides a message for him in them to keep his hands away from the special areas of Inada's body. And Anko smiling at the obvious attraction. Who had the Yuga, poor girl. I'll have to work with her in confidence when they come back. Anko thought knowing that 1 week taking a class at Mitara's school and Anko would really help, and bring out the fire that the June especially knew was there. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Do not fly. Not to fly, in. Jiraiya said before Naruto grabbed him by his long hair and carried him to heaven. We should feel sorry for Jiraiya-san. Kurena said and seeing them fly. He writes obscenities and looks furtively at women. You would do it yourself, Anko said, seeing Karena and frowning. On second thought, I hope they pull his hair out, Karena said, and before she left with Anko, smiling at where Naruto was headed. Oma, that Naruto apartment 4. Tsume couldn't believe it. Or the daughter was pregnant. With the Kyuubi Hinchiriki no less. Of course, the guy was strong, had a sense of loyalty, and, from the way Anna's eyes glazed over after asking how such a thing happened, he was well endowed for his age. Still, it was his duty, as the head of the Inuzuka clan, to clear things up with the father of the child that Anna would one day bring into the world, and to talk. Find out if Naruto was going to be involved in his offspring's life. Upon knocking on his door, Tsume saw that Naruto was in workout pants, but he didn't have a shirt. And by the look of the room behind him, along with the sweat on his body, he had been training. At the same time, the leader of the Inuzuka clan felt a blush rising to her face, and the smell emanating from it was making certain areas within her come back to life that she had thought were long dead. After giving birth 2 children, can I help you with something, Tsume-san? Naruto said as he saw Tsume trying to concentrate on trying to talk and not just looking at her chest. Yes, Anna, Tsume said as he concentrated on getting the smell of the Saiyan out of his mind and trying to remember why he was here. Anna, what's wrong with her? Naruto said curiously before Tsume shook his head almost violently. To think clearly. Oh? I came to talk to you about Anna. She's pregnant and you're the father, Tsume said as he gave the woman his best look and the mother could give in the situation. Really? That's good news, right? Naruto said when he saw that Tsume's gaze decreased slightly. It is. As long as you intend to be a man and marry my daughter, Tsume said, seeing the Saiyan's satisfied smile. Of course. Although he will have to marry into my family. Not with yours, Naruto said, while Tsume looked surprised and then angry. Because it was customary for someone who did not belong to a clan to marry into a clan, not the other way. What? Why is that? Tsume said with Naruto calling her inside his secret house. Come in and we can talk about this, Naruto said as he saw Tsume squint and reluctantly enter since the last time a woman, his daughter, came in here. Well, the woman ended up pregnant. Okay, but I'm waiting for a very good reason for your way of thinking, Gaki. Tsume said before entering the apartment with Naruto locking the door. Hours later, Tsume stumbled out the door of Naruto's apartment. With clothes so baggy you'd think she was several sizes too big, and she had a line of drool running down the side of her mouth. The woman didn't even know how she had come to what had just happened, as she was talking to Naruto one moment and the next. The Gaki was hitting her from behind. It was nothing she had felt before, or at least a long time, since she went to bed after bringing 2 boys into the world, with the macho father running away in fear of her for some reason. Not that she blamed him, as her hormonal imbalance after giving birth to Kiba had made the head of the Inuzuka clan very violent, so that all nurses and doctors still remember to this day. When she got home, Tsume's mind wandered about how this might affect Anna. Once she knew that her children's father had just fucked up their mother too. And then there was also that she was going to consider once she found out about such news. His younger son was quite impulsive, which was not always a good trait, and got him into trouble on more than one occasion. Mom, what happened to you? You look like Anna when she talked to Naruto, Kiba said, as she listened to her mom come home, and the smell of the Saiyan was on her. Among other things, go to your room, Tsume said simply, as she made her way to hers and dropped down on the bed. To let a merciful sleep take her while ignoring the lack of something in the hip area of her sagging pants. This couldn't be more complicated. With Naruto. Here you go. Right next to Anna's, Naruto said, as he placed Tsume's panties next to Anna's and smiled a kinky smile, knowing that he had conquered another strong woman that few could match. Let me out. Let me out, Naruto-sama. Please. I need to bet, and right now. Kyugi shouted, as she was getting so horny it was driving her crazy, and the line to cross was getting closer to being crossed. Hey. Keep yelling at me, and I'll have an orgy with that woman without her inviting you. Naruto screamed inside his head. I'll be good, Kyugi said, submissively in a whisper. The whole reason. This is my mind. This is my house. When he roared, I am feared because I am the baddest man on the planet. Naruto thought, since he wasn't going to let any woman try to tell him what to do, no matter how angry, horny, or demonic they were. Sometime later. What? Anna and Kiba shouted at the same time, while Sum had tears running down her face while holding an object in her hands. A pregnancy test. A pregnancy test that had shown positive results when used. I'm pregnant, she said. Jotsum, as she couldn't believe it either, and wondered how potent Naruto's seed really was. Pay pregnant. Pay, but I'm pregnant too. What do we do? Anna said as she couldn't believe this was happening. Hit. Kiva had fainted. That's what I was doing. I don't know. I still can't believe I'm pregnant, Sum said, as she had honestly thought that the idea of becoming a mother again had passed a long time ago. And just watching her children grow up. Of course, Sum was not old in any way that such an act was considered impossible, but still. The Saiyangaki had a very powerful sperm that would make her pregnant, and she would be a mother in addition to being a future grandma. Why couldn't anyone else be her situation? With Anko and Kurenai, yours is reading what mine is reading, Anko, Kurenai said, holding her pregnancy test. While Anko did the same while looking at hers. It depends. Yours says that you were fucked and cummed so many times that now you are pregnant with the child of the Kyuubi Hinchiriki. Anko said, showing Kurena, and that her pregnancy test came back positive. Yes. More or less, Kurena said, and as she wondered if this devastating news was a bad thing or... Well, it certainly wasn't going to be considered a good thing. Let's look at the positive side of this situation, Anko said cheerfully while laughing nervously. What positive side? Kurena said, and seeing Anko's face, now covered with tears. Good question. I thought you would have one and tell me, Anko said as the jounin in front of her just started to sweat. What am I going to tell Inata? Kurena thought, and knowing that the girl would be devastated in the hospital with Inata. Are you sure Inata-sama wants to do this? Neji said as she watched her cousin sign the agreement that the girl herself had prepared. Yes. In exchange for resigning my position as a member of the Yuga clan's main family, I will be allowed to marry Naruto-kun. And give him many children, Inata said. He didn't care if Naruto had children with other women. Since I was starting a clan and therefore would need to do that. Besides, the Yuga girl knew that with his stamina, the blonde Saiyan had more than enough for everyone. And no woman could handle him in bed. And knowing Inata, she will give him an army, and they will be mortal, Neji thought, while Inata had a dreamy look on her face. If she inherited and kills anything from her mother, it was the determination to get the man she wanted. While the mother's choice of future husbands had been, well, let's face it, the daughter had chosen for much better. And she knew Naruto was the right man for her. Now leave me alone. I must plan my wedding with Naruto-kun, Inata said before reaching under the hospital bed. To magically produce a large pile of different wedding items used for such planning. When did you acquire that, and how? How did you keep it from me? Neji said, as he was completely stunned by this, and shuddered when Inata looked at him. I said go now. Inata screamed before grabbing the nearest bridal magazine and punching him out of the room. It went through 3 walls, ended up in an empty room, bounced off some equipment, hit the ceiling, and then fell on the bed. Dad. Neji thought just before unconsciousness claimed him. It ends, Omak.